Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Kim, this is Kim's Wellness Space, and you are very welcome. So if you've been here for any time at all, you'll know that I love it when I get a guest, and today I have a lovely guest called Rosie. I'm not going to do any sort of introduction. I don't even have any show notes today to go from. I'm literally just going to welcome her in and we're just going to start chatting. Welcome, Rosie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. It's lovely to see you. I'm so pleased that we're able to have this chat today.
No, totally. It's so funny because our mutual friend Sarah kept saying, I'm listening to your podcast and I feel you two need to talk. And I'm like, funny you should say that. We've just had that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I've written the title for this podcast as Rosie's Journey, but as we were just saying before I pressed record, I don't think that we're necessarily going to talk about that. I feel like this conversation could literally go anywhere, which is why it's so exciting. So I'm going to let you start talking about whatever you want and let's see what happens.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I probably should say a little bit about who I am. So, my name is Rhoda, but most people call me Rosie. I am years ago, I was involved in a lot of things happened. And the big things that happened was I was involved in 3 car crashes. And the last one, I got organ failure, was bedbound, really struggled to get back to walking. It would take me like 45 minutes to get out of bed and then try and go brush my teeth. I just couldn't get the energy. I'd have to lift my arm up. So there's been a lot of chronic pain and illness. And basically now I'm just pain-free. I have all this energy. Everyone's like, where do you get it from? I kind of went on this quest for 16 years to figure out alternate ways of doing things. I now share that with coaching. I also am a scriptwriter and screenwriter. I've written a couple of plays and musicals, but recently a one-woman play I was in that I've created a TV show of that will hopefully we're going to production at the end of this year, fingers crossed. And I act too now, which I never thought I'd get back to. And my biggest geek point is all things to do with the body and energy, and just kind of shifting out trauma, ancestral, epigenetic, even epigenetic echoes, all that jazz, to just create a really abundant, just joyous flow life.
Yeah, amazing. That's amazing.
Where you see the gifts.
Yeah, I love that. So there's a lot there that we can unpick. And I think I want to take you right back to the beginning just to start with, because it's amazing. Like I know how much energy you have because I've been in your world for a while. I can see what you're doing. But when you say that you were bedbound, you had organ failure. I mean, there are people out there that are like that or not even as bad as that, but are not doing very much in life. And so I think that's really inspirational for people to be able to listen to and be like, actually, maybe I could do something to change it. But I think that's the word, isn't it? It's I could. Like you have to take that action, don't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I also put on 6 stone in 6 months, which I think I forgot to say, because my digestive system, everything just went not working. So I had to, and doctors were like, this is your life now. We can't really do anything for you. So I had to figure out ways to get curious as to what my body was telling me and how I could shift those things. And it's interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day who, she's a coach too, and she was involved in a car crash. And she's like, oh, my physio, my this, that. It's so great you're not in pain anymore because you had this team that helped you. And I was just like, no, it wasn't the team. I said the team were phenomenal, but it was me when I left the appointments or left with the knowledge, what I then did with it, going to network spinal every couple of weeks, a couple of times a week or once or twice a month. It was what I did in between. When you walk out of that room, it's the people who take accountability for themselves. And you have to face, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, of course.
All right. You have to face your shit. You do. And stuff comes up that a lot of the time isn't yours. And what's really bizarrely full circle and beautiful now is moments are happening with family members, not that, bless them, there are many left standing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's an ancestral trait through my female lineage that I don't that stopped with me now. I've called that bullshit out, and it took a lot of work, and I repatterned it, not realizing it was inherited.
Mm.
And I'll now have these conversations with these older family members. I'm like, I'm not carrying this pattern on. And they're like, no, please don't.
Yeah.
So yeah. And even something as simple as my grandfather, he had a chronic illness from stress, and then it, you know, got back to life and was like overcompensating like I did. And then you have another crash. And, you know, I've just seen all these things in all this information that's finding me about my ancestors, that I'm like, I've had all of that, but
Yeah.
I've also figured out how to kind of make peace and let it pass along. So if, you know, if I have children, it won't be passed down.
Yeah. Which is amazing, isn't it? And so, I love that. It makes me sad, actually, when I talk to people and they're telling me that there's X, Y, or Z wrong with them, and their first thing is, oh, I just need a pill. I wish that the doctor would just give me a pill. And I'm just like, oh, really? That's your first thing? Why can't that be like never your thing, or the absolutely last thing? Like, there's a lovely lady that I follow on Instagram, and she's always saying, we are health. Our body is always healing. Like, everything that you need, your body already knows. You just got to give it a chance, and you just got to listen to what works. And we're in this mode at the moment, aren't we, where everyone's like, give me this, solve this, give me this. No one's like, shh, listen.
Well, there's two types of, you know, there's two type of people who are pursuing healing. There's two stages, and a lot of the times you have to go to that first stage of, I need a pill, I need someone to fix me, I need someone to heal me, and you need to give that power a lot of the time into someone else's hands, because you get that dopamine hit of, oh my gosh, it's working, and then you realize, oh my gosh, it's not working anymore. And that's where the split in the road comes, the fork in the road. And this is where it gets exciting. The people who choose to step into their empowerment and authority of self and say, no, I need to claim my power and figure out how to do it for me, because I have the answers if I listen and start stripping away all of that. Or the others who go, just give me more pills, and they switch off from themselves. So, I mean, I totally had to go through that first stage, especially with migraines, chronic pain. And it got to the point where I was put on a mild antidepressant for migraines, and I put on a stone in a week, and I was struggling to get out of bed because I couldn't get energy to be awake. And I was like, this is nasty.
Yeah.
This is not worth it. And then I had to go and ask for a pill because I needed them for the side effects, because I got nausea from the migraine. They put me on amitriptyline, which is nasty stuff anyway. And I'm like, this is not what it should be. And I don't know what happened. I just decided there and then I'm not taking these pills anymore. I had no clue why, but something within me was like, I'm not taking Western medicine again.
Yeah.
And just came off everything.
So is there one thing that you would say that you do every day now that keeps that your compass going in the sort of in the direction that you want to go?
Yes. So back in, I mean, obviously you know about this, but I've got just 5 things. So it all kind of actually, it started in 2019. I had this weird call. Weird, I just own it now. I had like a huge calling from God. It was pretty terrifying. It scared the living daylights out of me. And I was too scared to tell anyone for a while. Went to like vicars and ministers and pastors, and they all were smiling because they're like, that's similar to mine. So I had this calling from God. And then a few days later, weeks later, 18 days later, I heard your mum's going, you know, my mum was going to die, basically, and then had premonitions of how. And then it happened. She died on Good Friday. I had a vision of her on the Easter Sunday. We found her body on the Wednesday. It was like, oh. So I knew something was shifting and changing. And then after that, that was huge for me. I really saw how to spiral up like a phoenix from the ashes and see it like with curiosity. Every day I bring curiosity. And then in 2020, on Christmas Day, I got COVID and ate raw food, like had a really pleasant time with it, really upgraded with my immune system. And then I had a huge like dip and felt this huge depression of just not wanting to be here anymore. Not that I do anything. And I was like, what is this? And I just heard, you're feeling the global frequency. And I was like, what can I do to help? And I heard, do just 5 things a day. And I was like, what? Do just 5 things a day for 365 days, I heard. So I was like, ah! And they're like, document it on social media. Because at this point, the thought of going on camera terrified me. I did not like it, all that jazz. So I started doing it, and I went and documented it, and I got on camera, which, hallelujah, was great, because it means now I'm not fazed about being on camera, and obviously acting on camera, which was one of the things in the calling, that I would be acting on camera. And I started doing just 5 things a day for myself. And at first it was great. Then it felt icky. Then it brought up all my shame and judgment. So I was learning how to clear it all, apply everything I knew. So what I'm doing now every day is I consistently do things for myself. Yeah. And even today, someone said something and I felt some ick come up in my chest from past stuff. And I was like, right, I'm off to the gym now, but I'll clear that this afternoon when I get back, because that's a block from the past. So I'm always listening to my body, always. Yeah. I'm moving it as well. I'm a generator. I have a lot of energy. I'm like external plus with my energy system. And if I don't move my body, I feel it by the afternoon. So I now have to really like take it to town with exercise. And my chiropractor said my body's thriving on it. So, which is ironic, because I used to be the opposite. I just have to make sure energy keeps going around. And then if anything comes up, have conversations with myself. Like, oh, you don't want to do this. And I don't question it. I trust the instinct. Like the other day, I was like, oh, I'm going to a spin class. I did a double spin class. It was like 90 minutes. And I'm like,
I saw that.
What is going on? But my body wanted it. Sorry, I'm just realizing I need to plug in my laptop. And it felt phenomenal. But old me would have been like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's going to look, I'm not going to look professional. I'll fail. All this. Now me is just like, let's just show up. So it's great.
That's wonderful, isn't it? Such a change. But also, like I said just a minute ago, like it's so inspiring for people that are struggling or don't really know. We have so much information, don't we, about our wellness, or
and
what we should do.
Accurate.
No, exactly. What we should do, what we shouldn't do, how we should eat, how we should move, what time. Like we're always being told all this stuff, and actually, I always think you can't follow that. You have to try it for yourself and find out what works. Just because it works for these people over here does not mean that it's going to suit you at all. And I wish we could just get rid of the labels. I hate the labels. When we went plant-based completely, by the time I'd got to the end of explaining to people, I'm plant-based, whole food, I don't have oil, people just gazed over. So now I'm like, yeah, I'm vegan. And then that makes a whole different conversation, which I don't particularly want. And does it matter if they've labelled me? I don't think so. No, I'm eating what I want to eat.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I'll say to people, oh my gosh, like I love food now. Food used to give me so much pain my whole life, even as a child. And I'll be like, oh my God, I love food now. I eat when I'm hungry. I eat whatever I want. So people interpret that as she eats everything. No, I don't have gluten. I don't have refined sugar. I don't have caffeine. Will not touch that stuff. Like I don't touch dairy. I barely have meat. Once every blue moon, my body will be like, could I have some meat, please? I'm plant-based. I don't have processed food, but I eat everything I want.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's the definitions are different. And that's the thing. People put identities on things thinking it's one size fits all, and it's not. Yeah. They don't ask questions.
Yeah.
They don't get curious.
No, exactly. And I mean, I've just been researching wellness memberships because I'm just going to launch one. And every time I found something online, there was lots of words. It was very wordy, but none of them actually gave you any information of how you could actually do something for yourself, to take action, to move forward. I found it really frustrating, but on the flip of that, quite exciting, because I'm like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give you actions, like take the action.
Absolutely. I've got a 6-month mastermind, Legacy Wealth Codes, which I absolutely love. It kind of got, again, channeled in at the end of 2022. And I've got around to it at the start of this year. And somebody said to me on it within a month, oh, I'm assuming this is a self-study program. I didn't realize that. I wouldn't have signed up. I said, no, like here are the what's in your contract. And they're like, but it's not working for me. I said, are you doing X, Y, and Z? No. Have you watched the videos? Nope. I said, it's not going to work for you then, because what I'm doing is I'm giving you the tools so you then have that forever. I'm not going to come in and do it for you. Like, this is so you can then go and step out into the world. This is so you can master yourself and figure out your gifts and master your nervous system and heal your addictions, or your this, your that. Wasn't interested.
Yeah.
Because people do like the shiny bells and whistles. And someone said to me as well about my branding today, they're like, oh, I don't understand it. And I'm like, a lot of people aren't going to understand what I'm talking about. They're like, it's not simple enough. I'm like, yeah, because this isn't simple. Like, I'm not here to help people who are just at the start of their journey.
No.
I'm here to help people who have got to a point that now they're wanting to tap into this awakened mastery of self to create impact through their energetic field, learning how to clear their field, clear the rest of the pain from their body, like become this clean vacuum, because it's so possible. I mean, goes over people's heads because it's meant to, but there's a portion of people who are looking for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that thing, isn't it, where people say everything happens to you at the absolute perfect moment. And that is a really good example of that. Like, if they don't understand what you're saying, it's not for them yet. And the day that they listen to you and go, oh, that's what she meant, that's the day.
I know, because a lot of people are like, oh, I've done the work. I'm like, okay, what have you done? Journaling, affirmations. And I'm like, I just kind of, no, that's the gimmick that's what a lot of people are selling at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's great that you're making that time for yourself, but you need the catalyst of the activation to get to the fuel to the next level.
Yeah.
And but we're here for when people want it. And that's the thing with my writing as well. Like the TV show I've written, it is a guidebook. It's a dark comedy, but it's also a guidebook to get how to get more in life, how to feel free to actually trust your intuition and question these things that have been put in place in society that drain our energy. And then, if you want to dig deeper, come listen to my podcast, because we're all getting these intuitive pings right now. We're all awakening. Like, I would talk about this stuff 3 years ago and people would be like, I don't know what you're on about. I talk about it now and people are like, oh, I've been looking for you. Where have you been? And I'm like, because and we're evolving.
Yeah. Let's go back to the just 5 things for a minute. So when you very first did that and you were like on the first 5 days, what were the 5 things that you were doing for yourself?
So I felt really cheeky because I was like, should I really be doing stuff for myself? So the background was, let's put it this way, before my mum passed away, I had a business that had been running for 5 years. I was working myself into the ground. I was exhausted. The company it grew so quickly because of the way I was running it, and it was quite, low cost affordable. It was really wearing on me. And so I didn't do anything for myself. I was working 16-hour days. I was trying to create this service for people so they could shift. It was an educational service. And so when it came, and it made me really ill, like so ill, I was like sent into hospital, everything. So I had to pull back, shut it down. So when it came to doing just 5 things, I felt cheeky, guilty for doing things like, oh, I'm going to sit down and read a chapter of that book that's been on the shelf for years, or, oh, I'll actually go for that walk that I've been curious to do and I keep putting it off, or I'll turn left out of my house today instead of right, or I'm actually going to paint my nails. And then it got to things like, I'm going to start baking. Like, I'd find these vegan recipes and I'd feel guilty. Like, you just spent 35 minutes baking something. Shouldn't you be doing something else?
Yeah.
Bubble baths, like, really beautifully, like, dimly lit bathroom, jazz music playlist, fairy lights, like all these things. So up to day 5, it was good and bringing back creativity. And then I was like, after that, I was like, what would my child self want to do? So I picked up a paintbrush for the first time in 17 years. I was like, do you know what? We're in lockdown. I'd love some nudes painted of me, but no one can paint them. So I just did them of myself for myself. And I was like, great. So all these things. But then, I'd be painting for 2.5 days. And I'm like, should I be? I'd have like dance parties. And it got to about day 9 where the guilt came in. So much guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And I really had to force myself to do it. And instead of forcing, I just sat down with myself and I'm like, what's going on? And it was because I felt guilty for feeling good and for nurturing myself. And I felt like I was letting people down. So then I had to look at that, and then more shame came up, and then the sadness came up. And this is over the year, like sadness started to come up that I treated myself like that. And then all the weight started to drop off massively. And then annoyingly, my thyroid went, but so much weight dropped off naturally because I was just doing things that made me feel good and enjoyed. Yeah. Sleep got better. And then, I remember once coming back from the supermarket, walking back, I just wanted to burst into tears. I had no clue why. And I was like, it's okay. We'll get home, unpack the food. Then you can go into the living room and you can cry. So my system was like, great, thank you. So I did just lay on the floor, cried, did some breath work. I didn't know what it was attached to, but that was a piece that had come up to clear. So the first 5 days are great. They're a blast. But then your nervous system starts to go, what's going on here?
Yeah. And it's amazing how many people still don't do things for themselves, even though we have this massive marketing campaign for self-care, but nobody actually really knows what self-care is beyond having a bubble bath. Not that I am knocking a bubble bath, they're very nice, but self-care is so much more than that. It's got such depth to it. And it's amazing actually how many clients I've worked with who, I'm a health coach, it's about their whole wellness. Most times they come to me because they want to lose weight. Very rarely about that, but that's what they think it is. And most of them don't do anything for themselves. Like, not even read one page of a book because they haven't got time.
Oh, that one kills me. When people go, I haven't got time. Oh, I won't say the F word, but I'm literally like, F off. Time is a man-made concept and it's an illusion of like, it doesn't exist. And everyone's like, what do you mean? As soon as I scrapped time from my life and saw it as space, what can I put it, like saw a day as space? What can I put into this space today that lights me up? All of a sudden, my days felt like 6 weeks. And I get to bed and I'm like, not only do I have so much fuel, I have done so much. I've enjoyed myself. I've had so many ideas. It's interesting because now sometimes I go to the gym and I do classes and I love it. And sometimes I'll do 2 back-to-back, 3 back-to-back. I used to feel guilty for that. Now I'm like, but it gives me fuel and it ripples into everything else and it's serving all the other areas. But so many people feel guilty for moving their body and what they don't understand. I look at people who are ill and I can see if people are ill before they know. I can see it in their field, in their body. And what's so frustrating is people will say, move your body, but they don't explain the intricacies of what happens when energy gets stuck. And I think self-care is the curiosity of how do I release what doesn't feel right? Yeah. How do I sit with emotion?
Yeah, that's a really good way of explaining it. I like it. That's good. Yeah. And it's so important.
Yeah. And it's funny because I have people do like courses and stuff and they know what the thing is. And I'm like, okay, well, here you go. Here's the energy formula. This is what you got to go do. We do some work like in person, but this is what you got to go do next week. I still feel awful. Have you done it? Nope. Okay. Month later. How's it going? Still feel awful. Have you done it? No, I guess I just feel scared. And it's interesting because what people don't realize is when you just allow something to leave your system, the freedom on the other side and the fuel is so incredible. I mean, you don't know what it's going to be, but it's so much better than what you're in. And it's so expansive, but people just want to stay stuck in story loops.
It's funny, isn't it? And I suppose it is that resistance that we have. But for me, I've learned personally that if I ever do anything where I'm feeling resistant or it feels icky or a bit hard, that is definitely the direction that I should go in. And I have to get through that. And then once I've got through the other side, I'm like, oh, okay, it's okay over here. This
Yeah,
is
no,
where I'm meant to be.
totally. Totally. And I also think that's absolutely true. And the other one is, when you're in a situation and your nervous system feels as calm as a mill pond and everything feels like peace, a lot of people think that that means that's not a path to pursue because it's inverted commas boring, when actually it is to pursue. It's not drama. But we're not used to not drama. We get distracted by it. We're brought up to be distracted by it. So that happened with me with pain. I remember having network spinal, and one day I left the practice and I wasn't in pain for the first time. And I thought, right, I've got two ways I can handle this. One, get my body back into pain because I know how to do that and appease pain, or sit in the space of pain-free and just get used to it. And it felt really weird.
Yeah.
And I did that, and it took 3 weeks for it to integrate in. And I said to the practitioner, I was like, I've realized I've been in an abusive relationship with my body and with pain, because I was facilitating pain, but I also knew how to appease pain. So when I became in pain, I knew that, oh, this was years ago, so I don't touch the stuff. Oh, if I have a Diet Coke or a sugar-free Red Bull or smash a load of chocolate and sugar, because it would obviously open up all the blood flow to get the painkiller that I would take, Nurofen or whatever, to that point. I knew how to appease pain. I knew what to do if I felt sick. I knew what foods to have. And I was like, that's an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And so many of us are in them with ourselves, and we don't want to admit that. But as soon as you do, that's when the freedom presents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's because we're scared, aren't we? There's so much in this world that's going on. There's so many things that we're supposed to be doing. So if you get presented with that situation and it is a bit scary, well, it's much easier to go that way, isn't it? And just pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah, but fear is just an illusion. I mean, I personally, I'm like, fear doesn't exist. And people might be like, what do you mean? No, it's a stepping stone to expansion. But if you want to get stuck in it, then it exists. But it's a stepping stone. Like, I've had to have conversations this year that I would never have had with people. And I'm like, I'm not getting stuck here. I see life, right? Like, really simply as a snakes and ladders board.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it is. And you're moving along. And, if you deal with your stuff and life, sometimes you get shot up a huge ladder. And you're like, whoa. And you keep going along. And if you stop dealing with your stuff and you stop coming from love and you get caught up in the spiral, you shoot down a snake. And it's merely a reminder that you're not being honest with yourself. Yeah. And we see these people who are so, inverted commas, successful, but all they're mastering is themselves. And then the ripple effect goes beyond. And then you've got other people who are in desperate control to not go down snakes, who are kind of top end in the world. But the snakes eventually get them because they're not coming from a place of peace and love. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. And it's like I said to a friend yesterday, I said, something small. I said, something's happened. I really want to tell you. I'm like, it seems really small, but it feels really huge. And she said, no, it's another ladder on the another rung on the ladder.
Yeah.
I said, yeah.
It's a really good way of looking at it, isn't it?
And as soon as you start feeling that slippy, slidey feeling, I've got two choices. I either let this suck me down or I grow, because I want to get to that ladder over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always remember as a child, there's that square where you go along like 5 to the 4th or 5th, and the ladder takes you all the way up to the top row, and you'd always try to get it. And I think it is possible.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, like you said, crucial to all that being able to keep going up is you have to be completely honest with yourself. And there's so many people that are coasting. And if you ask them, they're like, yeah, like you were saying earlier, they go, oh, yeah, I do all the stuff. But they're not actually doing it enough or regularly or really doing it. They're just kind of coasting over here where it feels safe, and they can tick off their lists. That means it's okay because they've ticked it off.
They're talking the talk, they're not walking the walk, and that's two different things. They know where the path is, but they're not stepping on it. And I've had conversations with people like, my personal development, I'm doing it all, I've done it for years. I've read all the books, I've done all the courses. Are you implementing it daily? No. Or, I know what all my traumas are. I know my sticking points. Someone I know can pinpoint everything in the family lineage and growing up and all this jazz. And, but it's what I was brought up in. So I'll probably always have a problem with it. And I'm like, no, it's so easy to just deal with it and move forward.
It's funny, isn't it? I actually think it's really fascinating. I love it. The fact that, like, I know I'm 52 and I'm still going, that's why I do that. I didn't know that. I can stop doing that now. Now I'm going to do this from now on. Brilliant. Never too old to learn something new.
Absolutely. And sometimes I beat myself up because I'm like, you should be further ahead, or this or that. I'm like, hang on. Not only have you, I sometimes, like, the stuff I have done blows my mind with where I've been, where it's been in the past. But also when the stuff of my family comes up, I'm like, girl, you had to clean all that stuff first, because there's no way you can take that to the next level. Like, where you're going, it would not work there. And my mom, my grandfather, like, there are these beautiful people in my family who had these beautiful gifts and couldn't take it to the end of the finishing line, couldn't get it across. And it just destroyed them. And I had to look at my parents I don't know, I mean, God, I'm so glad I'm who I am. As a little girl, I'd look up to them and I'd literally be like 5 or 6 years old. I'm like, why are they doing it that way? Like, they're not happy. Why don't they just do it the opposite way? And that's what I said to my mom when I was like 8. I said, you guys are my great example. She's like, why? I said, because I figure if I do everything the opposite way to you guys, I'll probably do really well. And obviously you don't like hearing that from an 8-year-old.
No. She probably thought she was doing amazing at that point.
No, I don't know necessarily. It's like my dad, he's got Crystal Palace. He always used to go on about how Crystal Palace scouted him, but he never went to the trials. And I said, why? And he went, because I had a school trip booked abroad, and my dad says I had to go. He's like, it was always his crown and glory, right? But it just didn't happen. And I looked at him again. I wasn't even 10, and I went, why didn't you just tell them you're on a school trip and could you go to the next trials? And the blood just drained from his face. He's never thought to. I said, just imagine how different your life would be, which, I mean, God, that's a stinger for a kid that young to say, or for anyone to say, but it's that simple. If you get caught in the mindset of, it's so unfair because the timing hasn't aligned, it's so unfair, it becomes your downfall. Whereas if you look at it of, hey, I think it was Switzerland district, I get to go to Switzerland and I get to go to Crystal Palace. Oh my God, and I got it. Do you know what I mean? You're living the sweetest life. You have the best of both worlds, but it's your choice on the perspective you take.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's stepping out of that victim mode, isn't it? That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people that are quite happy. Yeah, being wow.
Let's take that sentence. I don't think they are happy.
No, probably not. Maybe not. But they're not willing to do anything about it yet. They're still sitting in the
thing is, though, do you know what? They may never do anything about it, and they may never meant to be, because we all come here for a reason. And their choice and journey this time may be to sit in that, and they may learn something really profound at the end of their life, which they take on to the next, you know?
Yeah, that's very true.
And also thank the best, and don't get me wrong, my family, a lot of them aren't in my world because of what's happened. All these things have happened. But my Lord, I'm so grateful for them all the experiences, even the most harrowing ones, because it enabled me to choose differently. And I see it as, things with my dad. I'm like, before we came in, he must have gone, I want her to succeed so much. I love her so much. I'm going to play this role, no matter how painful it is. And I'm like, thank you. Because the person I came in as, I needed some real whacks to get to where I am now, to open up.
Yeah.
It was never going to be straightforward. And because I was going from where my family were to make these huge leaps forward, and I'm still on it. So yeah, I do thank those people.
Yeah. They
'Cause they
say,
are,
don't they? All the experiences that we have make us who we are. And if we hadn't
yeah,
had them, we would be a different person. So you have to be grateful for all of those things that build your character, build your opinions, build your
totally.
knowledge. And
And
we can keep building.
absolutely. And also as a creative, like some of the stories I've written, some of the plays in like TV series, they're about stuck people who somehow inspired me. And it's almost like writing, what if they'd have faced their crap? How could this have gone differently?
Yeah.
What if they'd have been able to have these open, honest conversations with me and I with them? Where would it have gone then? And
Yeah.
then that inspiration means that when people come and sit in a theatre or watch something on television that I've written, there are people out there who are ready for those, for a bit of a guidebook. And I want to take steps, but I'm stuck. I know I want to take steps. That person who's inspired me may never take the steps, but they've inspired a wealth of people without realizing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you doing for the rest of this year that you know of at the moment? Because I know things just pop in as and when, don't they? So, you know.
I don't even know. So this year at the moment, I'm doing Mind, Body, Spirit at the end of the month. So I have a stand there, which is crazy. I was asked to talk there in October last year, and just I don't even know if I'm ready for this, but I'm like, it comes when it comes, and you've just got to
Yeah.
make the leap. So there's that. My TV series, I have a strong everything's pointed towards that being filmed at the end of the year. I've been offered loads more acting opportunities, which have shocked me. My acting now, I don't even know where it's coming from. It's like, again, clearing all the trauma out, it just channels in, whereas before I'd be pushing against it.
Yeah.
So I've got a show in July I'm in, for that's straight acting. Just I don't know. I know everything's going to shift like the end of this month, next month. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Are you
just,
doing your one woman show that you did last year? Are you doing
I
that again this year?
should, yes, I should be doing it this weekend, but I had to cancel it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I've done rewrites for that. But I imagine I'll be doing that at the end of the year. And then
Okay.
well, the plan is, if not next year, the year after, take it to the Edinburgh Fringe and do all that jazz with it.
Okay.
But
It was so
focus
interesting. I remember watching you on Instagram because you were very good at sharing
I
like
was a
your
mess.
emotions. You had so many emotions, like literally every emotion we can feel, I think you felt
Yeah.
on that few days. But it was an amazing journey to witness. I don't know if you realize how powerful it was when it came across, but I was literally every day like, oh my God, I hope she's going to be okay today. Like, I need to make sure that she's okay when she comes out, because literally you were like that for the whole period of time that you were in Brighton doing that.
Oh, I hadn't acted for 9 years and I swore I wouldn't go back to it. And then that
Yeah.
calling from God, he basically said, I want to use your voice. You're going to be a Hollywood actress. And I was like, what? Don't even like that phrase. I mean, who knows if that happens, whatever. But I'm like, now all this stuff's aligning with acting. But that play came up because someone said, would you write a play about your TV series and act in it? I tell you, I felt like Bambi in a blender the first night. I needed someone to feed me a line every night, except the last one. I'd never done a one-woman show. Like, I trained at one of the best drama schools in the world. Get me on there with other actors, fine. But when you're on stage by yourself for 45 minutes, and I was not at my fittest peak, now it's a breeze. Like, let's do it. It's stamina. It's having your wits about you. It's embodying characters. It was crazy. But yet, this is why, I mean, we'll see. A part of me is totally here for being well known in the creative space. Like, my nervous system's ready for it because no one shares those stories.
Yeah.
And how I turn up on social media and on stories of social media is how I've always needed someone to show up for me, to show it's all possible. So yeah, I would love to land West End shows and Broadway shows and films and be on film sets, because I would be very open on stories. Yeah, it's hard today, or this is triggering this, so this is what I'm doing. And I was in an acting class the other day. The actor was playing my dad, and he was saying all these things to me, and they were jarring because I didn't have a dad say those lovely things. And those things I think need to be shared.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was just so brave. Like, if for someone that isn't involved in that world, you go along, you buy your ticket, you sit there, you watch the show, and then you have an opinion of whatever you have seen. But because you shared so much, it wasn't just the fact that you were doing the show, and that's pretty scary. I mean, for me to stand in front of all those people on my own, that makes me feel quite sick. But you were doing the costume, you were thinking about the lights, there was all the publication of the posters, there's so much,
and the
much
money. There's everything. And my coaching company went on pause for a year. It was exhausting. It was so exhausting. And it's funny because I watched I don't know what it's called, Interior Designer of the Year or something, I don't know, Master of the Year. I never watched the BBC, but they were filming in our local area, and my friend told me, so I thought, I'll watch that one. And then I watched the last 2 episodes, and they were asked to do the interior design of Wembley changing rooms, as in the arena.
Okay.
Now, what was incredible is they were showing the stage of Wembley, and I'm like, I've been on stage at Wembley. This is great. And then they're showing the dressing rooms, and I'm like, I've been in dressing rooms at Wembley. So I was like, you're doing good, girl. Keep going. And they, Sophie Ellis-Bextor came and judged. And she said, what people don't realize is when you're about to go on stage, you can get imposter syndrome, or you can think, I'm not enough to go out in front of all these people. She said, you can have those days where everything is running through your head. You feel sick. You do not feel the star. And then you've got to go out and pull it out. She said, and then you come back and you need to have a therapy session with someone to be like, why the show didn't go the way you wanted. And these designers weren't necessarily aware of the human experience because nobody shares it.
No, they don't. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was so raw. It was so raw. It was fascinating to watch you, have, but also you were very brave because you were talking about people in your play that were sitting in the audience watching you who you hadn't seen for ages. That's brave.
Yeah, that was October. That terrified me. And also I'm talking about, it's funny because I was advised to watch Baby Reindeer by one of the actors who's going to be in my TV show with me. And I watched it, and he's reliving his whole real traumas. And I thought, my show's not good, because he's like, the quality of this show reminds me of yours. So I was like, I don't think I've got this in my show. What? And then I came home, and this thing just channeled into my head, like, what were the reviewers and people saying about your show? And what they were saying is, how is she able to get up on stage and experience that and relive that? Because a lot of this is autobiographical. And I'm like, it doesn't feel like it to me now. But yeah, people were saying to me, the stuff you're saying on that stage is like so raw. It makes us feel awkward at times because it's a lot. And you're really sharing painful parts of relationships and experiences, and like about my mum dying. And there's stuff that happened when my mum died, like all the spiritual stuff. I was too scared to tell people in case they thought I was nuts. And now, like, my TV series opens as, in 2019, Rhoda Dell had a calling from God. He then told her mum was going to die, and how, like, this is the story. Yeah. And before I'd always hide that. Now I'm like, nah, let them think I'm nuts. But so many people are experiencing it, but they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, that's true.
One is.
Yeah. How exciting.
So, yeah. Well, I'm loving my life. So I'm sure it's all going somewhere.
So if people want to come find you because they've enjoyed listening to us chat, where can they come find you?
The best place is probably Instagram, which is going to curve them a swing ball now, because my Instagram handle is @JustRhoda, which is RHODA, which, as I say, it's my real name, but my friends call me Rosie. But yeah, Just Rhoda, or you can check out my podcast, Just 5 Things, on Apple, and Spotify. But yeah, if you head there, we're about to do a manifestation May free challenge where you can win a one-to-one with me. Like all these lovely things are happening. But yeah, if you're ready for more, if you're ready to just fuel up and shift blocks and stuckness, then this is the place for you. And it's looking at just we don't get you to relive anything. It's just learning how to open the door to allow old stuckness or patterns or overwhelm to leave.
Yeah, amazing. I'll make sure that I put everything in the show notes so people can come find you. I have loved talking to you. Is there one thing you want to leave everybody with, like a thought or something that you want to leave us with before we say goodbye?
Well, firstly, I love your top. I keep noticing it. It's stunning. Really gorgeous colours. What would I like to leave everyone with? Anything and everything is possible. We live in a world where a lot of people make it look like that happens instantly, and it doesn't. Like overnight success does not exist. It's a compound effect. It's a momentum, and stuff that I planted seeds with 10, 15 years ago are only growing now. And sometimes I've even forgot to nurture them. So know that. And the other thing is, really, in the kindest way, the only thing that's stopping you from moving forward is your own bullshit.
Yeah. Very wise words. Very wise words. Thank you so much for being here today. I've loved chatting with you. I knew I would.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And I'm sure I will speak to you soon.
Absolutely. And have a gorgeous weekend.
Thank you. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I really hope you enjoyed our chat as much as I did. If you are new here and you haven't listened to any others, please go back and have a listen. There are loads. I've had loads of cool guests. And if you're always here, thank you for listening again. I love it that you come back. And I will speak to you all very soon.